MRC results to speak for, except for potentially, in this case, Tuzi, who has a third in MRC Season 1 under their belt with All Business.
And All Business have kind of gone their separate ways, and it did sort of feel like, with that team in particular, because we did see Zabs play a little bit earlier on in this tournament, like Tuzi was the black sheep of the team and now found pastures new. But it is the old versus the very new. Virtus Pro, a team that was dominant in EMEA for so long, making 0 roster changes after their surprise non-entry, I guess, into the mid-season finals by missing out on major games, going up against Choppity, a mixed match and a mismatch, I guess, as well, with him being on the team, of various players coming in. The draft is going to be an interesting one. Emma Frost is going to be taken out from Choppity first, and Captain America, Virtus Pro, want to take away from Beetle.
To go over one last result before we dive too much into this, DRP in MRC Season 0 came second. They have been in this exact spot before, in a grand final of a Marvel Rivals Championship, facing down Virtus Pro, or at the time were named Team Cats, facing down this exact roster. Doctor Strange, protected, is a little bit more unique here. Very interesting.
When it's Virtus Pro as well attacking first, we did see them sort of play we saw this earlier on yesterday, they were playing the Doctor Strange and the Rocket Raccoon on the defense to just have a way to get back into these engagements as quickly as possible, because you could force so many early fights on that first point that by the time that they get towards the last of the checkpoint, it's overtime. You don't really have many mistakes left to make. But Wolverine and Venom protected from Choppity, Vanguard's taken out aplenty. It means that the Protect needs to go in to make sure that, frankly, there's something for DRP to play, because it's starting to whittle away from him.
Ooh, the Venom and the Thing getting protected. Now, the Thing is sensible, because if you look at what hasn't been banned here, while Vanguards have been targeted, the Human Torch is still available, as is, quite frankly, all of the Vanguard, all of the duelists we have seen being targeted in the previous series. We still have Psylocke, we still have Torch, and we still have Phoenix. All three still available. Well, all two of three still available, as Psylocke is removed here. But having the Thing available, we just saw how well Choppity were able to use it previously to get a little bit of anti-air. Sorry, it was Zero Tenacity that used it for the anti-air to try and snipe people out of the air, and we have seen it from a little bit of mid-season games from some of the higher ranked players from this team that Virtus Pro have been cooking a little bit with the Thing.
Cooking on a high heat, I think, that's about to come into as well, because Jean Grey and Human Torch have not been hit at all in this draft, neither banned nor protected. So it is about to get very hot in this grand final. We've got Virtus Pro playing up against Choppity. It's an exciting look at what these teams are going to show in Ignite, but we're about to get straight in.
We are in, and we do in fact see that Human Torch coming in for Choppity on the defense, but not the Phoenix. We're moving away from that because Crazy Kitty wants to get out the claws as the Wolverine to try and break through some of this quick rollout for Virtus Pro is going to be picked up.
Also, going back to the start of the day where we saw Tuzi over on the Ultron and Crazy Kitty on the Torch, you said, like, Tuzi can play the Torch himself if he wants to. He's going to start off that way. And Virtus Pro coming out of the gates of Spawn with the likes of Black Widow, with the Moon Knight, just to spam some anks and find some picks. And whilst they switch more to a de facto composition, they have just absolutely routed 2, maybe even 3 players of Choppity instantly.
Absolutely cleaning them up, the power of the Phoenix. If you land those headshots, those sparks stack up so quickly, those explosions can just do so much work. Cosmic Flame catches Venom as he drops down there, forcing DRP to back up as Virtus Pro going fast. Portal for the quick recontest to try and buy some extra time here.
Fighting onto the point. Like I said before, the defense wants to try and take as many of these engagements on Yggdrasil's path as early as you can, because you can keep multiple engagements happening and just keep stalling out. You'll see bodies throwing themselves at the point on this defense, but it is just bodies piling up on Choppity. I don't think they've got many eliminations, if any at all, and you can see the Twosies trying to make something happen, able to find one pick. The RP's able to get one, but it was just unrelenting from Nevix, shutting him down, able to trade out. And everything is stalled for the time being. Choppity are doing a really good job at just buying as much time as they possibly can on this defense. Virtus.pro have bodies, but not the picks to keep things moving along.
Time's going to be dropped, stunned out, interrupted. Strange is hovering menacingly, looking for the potential for the Eye of Agamotto as the ends of Inferno drop directly on Bob for the Feast from the Abyss, but it's not enough for a finishing blow here as sniped out of the sky. Five goes down, and suddenly Choppity have got the lock, it seems, onto Virtus.pro. For Virtus.pro, they still have Eye of Agamotto, they still have Supernova, they have the burst they need, and they're approaching that invisible boundary as well, meaning that they can try and go for a big, hefty dive here. Choppity, though, they have almost the exact same tools.
Choppity look like they might be under a ton of pressure at the start of this map with losing as many places as they did. Done well to keep control of things as they go along. Crazy Kitty, it's a tricky battle to go up against the Thing because the fact that they're immovable stops you from pulling them into pesky positions. But of course, that extra damage against the tanky characters helping him out. Nevix went down. You saw the Crazy Kitty 10% away from having that last stand. Trying to not be too much of an easy target in the end. The leap up from the Thing, going for the other member of the Fantastic Four, able to go for the engagement as the invisible boundary is thrown down from Mash. But things are trickling forward for Virtus.pro. The Eye of Agamotto comes through from Beetle and connects onto 2. It does connect onto Drijo, which is going to be a key target, taking out that Lunar Snow, but their health doesn't diminish at all in the slightest. Virtus.pro, a clean fight in the end, and it's looking like they might be able to touch the first checkpoint.
They're going to touch the first checkpoint, but also the Thing being carried somewhere there. There was a last stand, there was a first steps coming in there. Looks like just to deliver the Thing past that center gateway, or in case they came back through for Choppity to try and go for a little bit of crowd control. But yeah, we're seeing Virtus.pro with exactly the same thing that seemed to make Choppity suffer a little bit in their previous matchup, utilizing the Thing to take Crazy Kitty out of the sky, while Tuzi has moved on to the Phoenix as Crazy Kitty over to the Torch, but they've realized just how much work Sparker is doing.
Seems to be part of the plan for Virtus.pro in the draft. When you've got one team trying to protect the Wolverine, they want to use it, so you leave two incredibly strong duelists on the table, and it's like pick your poison. You protected a character that you might not use, but if you do use them, you don't get the Jean Grey and the Human Torch, which just together, it's so much damage in these small areas, and certainly on this horseshoe part of the map when you have this verticality. Those flyers taking that space makes it very difficult for Choppity to get a leeway in any of this.
Five burn through his Fantastic Force, so he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable for the next 9 seconds, but he has that Guardian barrier to keep him protected, fate of both worlds from Vertigo to make sure that everyone is sustained. They're going for the Feast of the Abyss, for a damage boost, but it's Sparker who finds the finishing blow onto Matt with the wraparound, and is just showing why they are one of the most dominant hit scan players. Tuzi has been trying to match them, but they're just getting picked off here. Virtus.pro continuing a solidly aggressive push.
It's just too much to deal with, like unrelenting really. You see Choppity just sort of playing on the left-hand side of where the Invisible Woman is in that room, and you've got all of these tornadoes being thrown down, the fire prisms from Human Torch, Supernova. It's just continuing for fire. The Eye of Agamotto, it's pacey. It's an attempt to try to go for something for Finzi, and finding that pick means that this is going to stagger out Choppity even more. The Supernova, look how much space Virtus.pro are taking. All the while, that payload is moving, trickling forward, only one player on it, but it's totally uncontested from Choppity. They can't get on it.
Clockwork Time comes on out. This is just Virtus.pro attempting to keep the momentum going as they pick up yet another quadruple, make it quintuple. DRP falls. Vertigo's already back in spawn, and they're going to try and close off the entrances. Portal to prevent reinforcements to get extra distance here. That will slow them down, but have they left any gaps for them to fit through to try to squeeze around the edges? They're held on in. Strange gets out over the top, and that means he's all alone fighting against The power of the Flyers fight is sieging them. Sparker sending in shots. The card just gently strolls on in. That was perfect. Virtus Pro winning the fight and going right aggressive. The second they'd captured that second point, the second that cart was through the door, they took an aggressive fight. Burning ultimates got an early pickup, took numbers advantage, and then prevented reinforcements the second they got the team wipe. Magnificent.
Every little strategy, every little play that Virtus Pro can make, they know how to do it, they synergize well, and they don't even really need to think about doing it. That is the most peaceful way that I've seen a payload finish a map. Just scenic route strolling all the way through, and pretty much from that second checkpoint all the way to third, I don't think that payload stopped once. It only had one player on it, but it just kept moving. Virtus Pro is so good around playing with these non-static objectives because the fights have to be different, and Virtus Pro know when they want to be fighting on the point, when they need to be fighting past the point. And just honestly, if they get a pick that can keep that gravy train rolling, and that Choppity could do nothing about it.
Okay, I have questions as we're moving on to round 2 here. Normally, if you would look at the compositions for Virtus Pro when it comes to having another player move over to a strategist, it will usually be Sparker, and they'll usually pick up the Adam or the Ultron. The Adam is here, but it's being played by Dredro. Sparker, usually the hit scan player, is on Rocket. We've seen a little bit of duelist rocket styles from a couple content creators, but this is a little bit more unusual for Virtus Pro.
And you got Fire, just on the Groot. It's more like Groot, I suppose, because the triple Vanguard, triple strategist. It makes a lot of sense when it comes to being able to resurrect and bring back some of the people on your team, and it's something that we've seen Virtus Pro show off it in pieces. Maybe not this full composition, but certainly the Rocket Raccoon for the Be Right Back and Finzi still being over on the Doctor Strange. And just look at where they're fighting. Remember the start of this map where Choppity had 3 players go down, and then immediately Virtus Pro have got past that first like 90-degree angle? Virtus Pro are holding in this room on the left-hand side that no progress has been made. It's been 4 meters.
They completely have this locked down here, sieging onto the point. We're seeing Choppity realizing, oh, it's this. And they're moving over to the Squirrel Girl Black Panther coming in for Crazy Kitty into a group and a thing. Potentially could get caught out, but they do have the symbiotic shenanigans from Jeff. As such, we will see Virtus Pro. They start to back out a little as the pressure comes in from the Venom. DRP trying to get the pickup. Fincy chasing down the Jeff and the Venom who are trying to play together. Snipes it with the Maelstrom. Cypher is taken down though. Tuzi is starting to get some counter dueling here.
You understand why Virtus Pro, when they started off this map on attack as well, they had the Moon Knight out just to throw an Ank in these positions to clear this out. It's not something that Choppity have gone for, and I think it's kind of like past that point where you want to go for the surprise Moon Knight to try and find this space. So this is tricky. You're watching it from Dredro's perspective. It's pretty much for free up on this high ground. It's going to be really hard work for Tuzi to get in behind and find the dive, which he's so well known for. Even Crazy Kitty has to do something similar. The RP is going to leap into the background, and an Eye of Agamotto thrown in catches onto Tuzi as well as the RP, but it is the Human Torch that's taken out, and the thing is just swinging and hoping for the best for Beetle. Clobbering time comes in, but Virtus Pro still have everybody alive, and anybody that did go down is just going to be brought back by this Kamek Revival.
Literally every single person. That cart has moved 6.88 meters. They found nothing. Finally, Mash is going to be able to try and touch, but guess what? They're still Fincy. He's still there after being revived. They're struggling prison. As finally, it seems Choppity are starting to try and push on in. There's his Jeff, and it finds absolutely no one. Crazy Kitty falls, and even though Choppity was burning through his abilities, they have still found nothing. DRP falls to Sparker on the aggro rocket.
You almost got another invisible boundary, and when everything is this static, just slamming it down on where this payload is a really good position. Crazy Kitty switching over to the Spider-Man just gets taken out instantly from Nevix as Beetle moving over towards the Groot. It's a bit of musical chairs, a bit of panic, I think, for Choppity to just find the right heroes to find an opening, and it's all up to Tuzi to find a pick, but the Resurrect, the Bring Right Back, just means that it's completely nullified again.
Wolverine finds an isolation though. Fincy dropped low, picked off. This is the chance. Choppity, they're dropping though. They had their opportunity. They found an isolation. The Cosmic Yard Amplifier gives the bonus health. And Virtus Pro are still here. And the fact is, even though they lost Strange, Fincy just portal back. They're still about to be 6. He's going to walk it back in, save the portal for later, because he might not even need it. As Choppity, this is their last chance. 25 seconds remaining for one last push.
Might be a good call in the end, because this fight actually now is starting to go into the favor of Choppity. Visible boundary is going to be thrown through, but I'm still seeing a lot of blue in the kill feed, right? Like, there's still a lot of Choppity finding the string of eliminations together, but you got a clobbering time. Almost ready for Nevix, but he gets taken out just beforehand. The Kamen Revival is good to go for Dreedro, but where's the good timing? 3 people have gone down in quick succession. Do you want to use it now? No, they're just going to let this push forward in overtime. They at least have one good fight just before this checkpoint, and they still have a portal, and they still have a Kamen Revival.
Are they going to portal everyone back in at once? Because I'm not seeing anyone start to step up. Fincy? No, they are just going to try and defend at that main entranceway. Like you said, walk back in and really hope that Fincy goes down first so they can reinforce the portal. It's Jeff coming in from Vertigo to try and catch someone. I don't know if he got anyone, but he's being chased here. Counter portal from DRP to prevent the flank from Fincy. And the group gets picked up here by absolutely melted in the blender. Crazy Kitty pushes on in. Ayamakamoto came out though as Virtus Pro. They lost one, but they turned it around. The BRB brings them back. The Ayamakamoto wipes the team. Overtime ticks down, and that is going to be Sparker on the rocket. Absolutely massacring who's left.
Hey, it was just everything that they needed right at the end, and Virtus Pro disciplined, right? There was so many moments with like the portal that Fincy could have used it, and he was just like, nah, we can save it because we don't need to use it, frankly. It's the boring, non-interesting answer. But that's why they're playing this comp. That's why they've gone for the Doctor Strange every single time we've seen them play. And they add a Warlock. It's easy to understand why. His kit's a little bit different since the last time that we saw Virtus Pro play. But it effectively works out the same for Kamen Revival. They're just playing to bring people back as soon as possible, burn down the wick of overtime, and then on that final checkpoint, win the proper engagement.
It's not exactly unusual to see someone play Rocket Raccoon and see them with like 3-digit damage and then keeping up or massively dominating in terms of healing output. That is a 50k Sparker game where they just absolutely did huge damage. A lot of that's from the previous round, but they did do serious damage on Rocket as we look at some of the highlights.
There was a moment as well where you said about like it's Jeff being used. I think it was used on Nevix that's playing the thing. So it didn't go anywhere. It just stayed where it was. Yeah, it just didn't see either it missed him or whatever, but just see like the UI, his silhouette just stand and sort of look. Okay, sure.
I'm here now.
But this is kind of like, I guess, like an expected performance, right? Because we've seen so much like innate talent on this Choppity side. Virtus Pro, it's a little bit cheesy with some of the stuff that they do. Sure, like I'm not going to say that it's like 200 IQ stuff, but it's done to such a level that either teams copy them or teams need to find an answer. At the very least, stuff like the Moon Knight to begin with at the start of a map, that feels like no matter what, you want to be doing it just in case you run into that kind of bunker setup.
The ability to, we've seen it so often. Squirrel Girl, Moon Knight, a little bit of potentially Storm for the damage, especially with Mantis being banned out in that round. Something to just burn through these tanks, but they just stayed so traditional, sticking with the Torch and the Wolverine. While the Wolverine is great, there's a thing. It does so much work to prevent that Wolverine from getting the isolations. Well, everybody, after that intense matchup, Virtus Pro starting off dominantly in this best of 7, we'll find out if they can continue this momentum or if Choppity can take yet another pre-Ignite tournament on the way in to Stage 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment.
Hello.
Greetings.
You cannot hurt me. I was merciful. Crawl back to your domain, Hela.
In this timeline, the machines will rule.
The doctor has conjured a portal. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. A disappearing cat. You are under my spell. Pure chaos!
We are done chasing spiders. We have bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up. We are Venom!
The other guy's been doing a lot of talking for me. You remember old Eddie?
We are looking to put a cap on this Marvel Rivals Championship Season 3. Season 3 as a whole. And now that we're in the grand final, it's worth looking back at the upper bracket because 2 out of the 3 maps that we saw these two teams play were Convergence. And the one map that we didn't actually get to see in play that's part of that game mode is Halls of Dajalia, which is what we're going to see now. It all went the way of Virtus Pro. They won that best of 5-5-0 Tetra, winning out on Symbiotic Surface, Central Park. Maybe there's a chance here, I suppose, for Chopty, or at least there's reps and a chance to gain some experience against a well-tenured team.
You've also got to bear in mind the history for Virtus Pro on this map. If you compare it to the last one, where you look at that Yggdrasil path, Virtus Pro, they have a history of winning. Much like most maps, except this one. This is the first map that they did lose to against the roster that at the time was Rad, now is Team 1 / potentially something else in the future, if Belio's tweets to be believed. But this is the map that Virtus Pro lost first on. There is an opportunity here for a little bit of a nostalgia choppity to try and capitalize off that momentum and use the weaknesses they might have spotted in that to try and learn something and make their way in for map number 2 of this best of 7.
Which is a good point too, because you mentioned that some of these players were from Team Peps, which were the team to first ever take a map from Virtus Pro, which took over a year to do. And like going back onto Yggdrasil's path before we get into this one, One of the things that made Team Peps really good on Spider Islands way back when was those kind of like spawn holds, like the super cheesy go for really aggressive fights and just buy out time as much as possible. So the fact that they kind of fell victim to that on Yggdrasil's path is almost kind of like taking a sip of your own medicine. Halls of Dajalia, you don't have that luxury to go for those kind of plays. You can't hold by the spawn door. It's just way too far away. You need to play around like the little perches of high ground, and Chopty, you want to make sure that the characters that fly high can't gain access to them very easily.
And speaking of those fly high characters, exactly what you're talking about here, Torch is removed, as is the Captain America. Virtus Pro, they're not a huge Captain America team compared to like almost every other team in EMEA. They do play it, but in terms of priority, it seems to fall a little bit lower down on their list.
Because the Human Torch has been banned out, it feels like a natural reaction is going to be going for a Jean Grey, just to have a very flexible duel list that pretty much all four of them that are in the server, certainly Fine Sparker, could pick up either side. Venom protected though, allowing DRP to some really nice rollouts that you can do. Thinking of what we saw from Brad before with, oh man, who was it? It was the main Vanguard player going for the Spider-Man, pulls off the maps, resetting, and then will roll out with Venom. Just magnificent stuff. So it's going to be protected from Chopty and banning out the Groot to make sure that you don't have those walls to break off some of the sightlines.
And also just the fact that Groot on this map, that one ramp heading up to the main first point can be so difficult to deal with. And also that center area that has become one of the hardest areas, sorry, it's the last area, it's become one of the hardest to push full stop. Having to fight through that very close spawn door can be extremely difficult. Mantis taken away, and once again, Virtus Pro showing their personal preference, it seems, for the Invisible Woman coming in once again.
Invisible Woman, yeah, the protections that we did see, we saw a little bit from Virtus Pro yesterday. When there's so many other strategists that have seen play, it's just allowing the fact that you can fight on the objective when you've got all of these big explosions happening with like Meteor M's and then End Songs being thrown down, having something that can protect you, but also knowing that you're going up against the Venom, the force physics, pulling him, stopping him from being able to just swing out. DRP has been punished a lot from that consistently, and that is because some of the plays that we've seen from Saipe and Dredro are very good at stopping a Venom find any success.
There goes the Ultron as the final ban here. Once again, we see the Green Jail continuing as Hulk is once again going to be banned away by Chopty. But with that Ultron, we move over towards what Virtus Pro seem to prefer, which is the Animal Warlock when it comes to those triple strategist lineups, if they want to do that, because Chopty have allowed the Psylocke through as well, meaning that they could in theory put Crazy Kitty on one, and we could see Tuzi on the other. We'll see as we head into map 2. Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda is open, but Virtus Pro wish it to be closed. Starting off with a rocket, they pre-armored up a bit on their rollout and have now moved over to about what you would expect here, with both teams going exactly what we said, one with Psylocke, one with Phoenix, because both are just so valuable. And of course they now have one-shot combos with the Psylocke and the Venom.
Yeah, Venom on both sides, but the other Vanguard is a choice between the Emma Frost, where you have that Psylocke team up, so you're able to do more consistent damage, double up, and break some of those breakpoints. But Virtus Pro instead putting Finzi on the Magneto, so they're not making use of that team up, despite the fact that Emma Frost is available. Wanted to go for something a little bit more solid, and I guess trying to make sure that they get those Meteor M End Song combos to blast through those breakpoints, honestly, to make sure that the healing support can't come through from the Lunas.
where do you put your potential? It's exactly like you say here. Do you put it in the one-shot combo on Psylocke being able to just one-hit people from behind with those extra clones, or do you hyper-commit onto the wombo a little bit later? And of course, that single target protection that isn't as much offered by Emma, as Emma is a bit more crowd control focused, but the single target protection that can be offered from that Iron Bulwark from Magneto.
You've also got no Loki as well, probably because of the Jean Grey, right? Just how strong it is against him in particular, but it's still available. There's a lot of really strong characters, but Virtus.pro trying to position themselves a little bit differently. Virtus.pro clearing out the fight is nice. It's going to stop Choppity from actually taking his first point, but a good amount of progression made of 83%. DRP trying to take some of this space back, but Sparker just basically feeds off of him to get that ultimate. Dance of the Butterfly is going to be available for this next fight.
Charged up, Feast of the Abyss 20% out, 10% for DRP as they are almost ready, but 2-0 out there. Dance of the Butterflies means no one-shot combo. In fact, both of their duelists are going to be quite far out. Virtus.pro taking a significant ultimate lead into the second half of the defense.
Oh, this is scary though. Choppity, they were just hopping down to the low ground and ran right into where the Psylocke was. Both of us actually forced out a little bit early, and you can see the Invisible Woman trying to get to safety. Breaking the sightlines takes a lot of damage, and that invisible boundary was key. Surviving there was important from MASH, but unfortunately, when you've got the Feast of the Abyss from Nevix, it allows that first pick to come through on Beetle just before he gets his ult.
The points slowly ticking up. Choppity is trying to take this, and Virtus.pro still just have a significant numbers advantage, and they once again wipe Choppity off the board. But 2/3 of the point have now been grabbed. This opens up the opportunity for Choppity to go for another engage and potentially portal in if it fails.
Ooh, you've seen like Beetle actually moving over from the Emma Frost to the Magneto to try and have more of a mirror matchup. I mean, same with Invisible Woman. I think MASH didn't necessarily start on it, I don't believe. And this is only going to suit Virtus.pro when you have got these like mirrored bands. They want to have mirrored comps because they're usually just better at all of the characters than everybody else. They've got so much time and they synergize a lot better. Dance of the Butterfly is leaping in, but there's not much else that's following up. Invisible Boundary is going to allow that space, and Sparker just peeling for the teammate is able to get the credit for the elimination.
Sparker seeing a Dance of the Butterflies and saying, giant purple circle.
I'm going in, yeah.
Finds the one-shot. DRP, Symbiotic Resilience has to be used for the defense. In the meantime, Nevix getting punished in the backline, gets stunned down by the Cosmic Flame, but is still able to get out. Finally chased on the backline. Crazy Kitty has to burn their ultimate here as they were in a little bit of danger. Will send in the Phoenix into the backline, but it looks like it was popped. Not getting a lot of damage output here from Retro Drown. This is going to be Choppity, starting to finally get the momentum, pushing it on, taking them out here. Why are they so low?
Yeah, we've I feel like we're sort of 20 feet tall now. We're just like the Destroyer from the first Thor film. But it's Virtus.pro now. Bought a good amount of time, forced pretty much Choppity to OT right at the end there, so it's 2.5 minutes extra added onto the clock for the second checkpoint. Virtus.pro, you just want to get Fee into a position where he's up onto the high ground, and if they can win that fight, it's almost impossible for Choppity to be able to take it. It's only DRP that could jump up to that position. And Finzi gets stunned, he takes a lot of damage, forced to use the shield on himself, has the Meteor M, and finds the perfect pick to start this fight.
That was opened with the Dance of the Butterfly. Sparker is in the backline, creating a little bit of zoning, forcing everyone to group up, allowing Fitzy to find Fitzy the blows, and when everyone groups up, it's of course opens up for Jean Grey. Fi able to find yet another pickup, and that card continues to be held here. While Choppity were able to finally get that first point, Virtus.pro have already locked it down again.
I think one of the key differences from like watching Virtus.pro is you'd see other teams win that fight, but that payload has moved up a lot further. Virtus.pro can go for these engagements in such an early position, especially when they could just find picks like that seemingly out of nowhere. Just the damage output is enough that it's unsustainable for Choppity even before these fights properly begin. It's a full team wipe, and everybody other than Sparker, who's not that far away, has their ultimate to just sit back on and relax. A minute left.
Choppity, they're building up as well, though. Tuesday just about to have their own ultimate, meaning it will be all 6 for them, meaning they have their one chance to try and push on in with less than a minute left. They can, of course, try and forceful, but you need to make sure someone's on the point for that overtime. If that's going to be the strategy, Sonic Vortex coming in from Cypher to burn through some time to find a little bit of distraction. Into the backline goes Nevix, and he leaves.
He's out. He doesn't need to overstay his welcome here. In fact, because Virtus.pro have had such a high line on this defense, it really means that like they can give up this space for Choppy to start pushing, but they're not really taking any space at all. Fate of both worlds is early. And that position, he almost manages to get away, does Tridro, but it's not only the Meteor M was perfectly placed, but it was also great pathing from Crazy Kitty to land down on top of him too.
DRP tries to go in to get the pickup onto 5, but 5 just turns it, going down the Insult Inferno of their own. Will burn through that bonus health onto Vertigo, but where's the follow-up? Who's left? Barker is already charged up on that Dark Butterfly into the back line, going to try capitalize with the ultimates expiring to burn on through, but with an invisible boundary, it's Mash keeping the team up with a nice force physics to hold Vinci back in, and they are pushing in towards point number 2. Portal for the extra zoning potential and for the reinforcements allows Choppy to hold this point and hit that second objective.
And 90 seconds added. Immediately you can see Virtus.pro turn their heels and start to run. They don't want to get reset because it's just going to give more space, more meters on the bar for Choppy. It took sort of everything that they had, and that was really off of Virtus.pro missing that combination of the Meteor MN song. We see it consistently land so well that a team like Virtus.pro missing it, it feels like a big mistake on their part. So that really shows the level of these teams. Dance the Butterfly, seeing if they can keep it going for Choppy, because whilst you've got everything in control, the fight back from Virtus.pro is perfect, and time is not on your side.
Yet another team wipe for Virtus.pro, taking down Choppy with, like you say, 45 seconds left. They've already used Portal for that last fight. What's left in the tank? They have an Ensong Inferno, they have a Meteor M. That's a one-shot, but Virtus.pro are very good at splitting. You're only going to get one. Then you just have to win a team fight against Virtus.pro, who do have an ultimate advantage.
They just have to leave Nevix here. They're trying to deal with him, and all he needs to do is escape, dash out. And all it does is going to take Choppy into different positions where they're not able to go and fight for the objective. They have to clear some of these other crevices. Oh, that's scary though. The Invisible Woman and Mash just running in to try and group up with a team to share that damage. But because they were so low, it was already scary. And then the Feast of the Abyss just on top means that it's done. It's dusted. Choppy, however, I think are going to be happy with the progression that they've made on this one just to push all this distance. But still, Virtus.pro, they don't make the same mistakes on this map that they used to.
No, absolutely not. They were able to hold very effectively. It was only really a bit of especially good engagements from Choppy that were able to break through those first 2 points. A portal re-engage was also used. It was a beautiful execution by Virtus.pro, and now they are on attack, a position that they very much like to be in on this map, because this is where they can play a little bit more of these aggressive styles and just focus on getting those KOs, getting those early pickups to just hyper go with momentum, and especially when they're running with stuff like Nevix and Sparker.
Flipping around now, Virtus.pro now attacking. I think this was one of the areas that they really started to struggle on. Usually we're sort of used to seeing Phi over on the Storm, but I guess when you've got the Jean Grey in play, it sort of works out. It's just a little bit out of fashion, no?
I don't think that's for this. We did see that a little bit of Dridro trying some of the early cheese did stand off to the side and just yeeted some mines. You can actually land mines onto the first objective with Penny on this map. Everyone else gets a little bit of armor from that Penny Rocket team up, and you pick the Storm because the damage bonus from the Storm Goddess actually goes to the Penny body, not the mines, meaning that there's a higher chance of getting that pre-rollout KO. But in this case, Choppy, too smart, not going to get caught out by that.
You know that play well because I've seen you pull it off yourself.
I learned from Moxie. She taught me how to get the lineup.
The Storm edition though is kind of new. Like back then, it was. It's clever. It's a shame to not see that much Storm outside of little things like that. But regardless, Virtus.pro drawn a line in the sand of where they need to get to, but first they need to try and take this objective first. DRP going in. I think he might have had to use, yeah, he had to use the shield a little bit earlier, and he's just caught out of position. The Invisible Woman pulling him back in means that he can't quite escape. And now a player down, a Vanguard down. It's Beetle's taking a good chunk of damage, and he's not even thinking about Sparker that's just stood right behind him, shooting for free. Nobody else from Choppy is going to deal with him. This is a clean first point take.
DRP is strange. They're going to try and reinforce it. The first to fall could try and make their way back in for the delay, but they got to time it right. No, they don't. They let it go, but they've got the portal active. Are they going to try and go for a portal mugging to try and pick someone off? No, they just cancel it.
It's a shame, but when you're again in a grand final like this, that could be a big issue to look back at, and just an execution error happens to the best of us, but you can't be giving those away. Now Virtus.pro having 5 minutes on this point. Really, they're just taking this high ground on the right-hand side, not allowing Choppity to set up on the high ground of the left. I like this idea, though, for DRP to try to stall on the objective itself, but it's risky. He's had to use that mitigation again, and it's the second time we've seen him leap in, unaided from his team, has to use those abilities early, and then just gets taken out prematurely.
Symbiotic Resilience Bird from both Venoms. It's not the longest cooldown, but it is very rough to do anything without it, due to the fact that Venom doesn't have money barriers. Whoa! Sparker with the flick sees 2Z moving in, and now going into the counter authority, but Invisible Boundary plus Guardian Shield will make sure that Sparker finds nothing.
Cuts off the sight line, stops some of that damage, sees the Meteor M. You just need a glimpse of it to know that you want to be getting out of dodge if you possibly can. Now 3 ultimates all in play at the same time. That double duo of the End Song and the Meteor M. It's not quite lighted up the kill feed with the ultimates, but everybody else is. The follow-up is there, and I mean, Choppity, they're not going to have the portal play this time because they failed it on the last attempt. They're not going to be able to touch again.
That portal will be back off cooldown shortly, but not in time. So Choppity forced to back up, and now it's only a few meters. 36.3 meters is what Virtus.pro need to hit, as they are piling on the pressure right now.
Seeing if Virtus.pro can force out some aggression from Choppity. DRP does have the ultimate, but it's the invisible boundary that they can sit back on. The positioning is aggressive. It makes sense. Dredra's even finding a couple of picks himself with these engagements. There's the invisible boundary. It's cut off Beetle from any sightlines from the strategist, which means he's taken out. Nothing's happening on the side of Choppity. It's like small ultimates thrown in for Virtus.pro, and they're just winning these neutral fights.
One by one, people trickle in. One by one, Virtus.pro take them down. And 3 by 2, Virtus.pro take the map and extend their lead in this series. Nicely done. They just seem to have full control. The second they hit that third point, it just seemed complete chaos coming in here from the side of Choppity. They just couldn't get around the corner because they were so disrupted that they were just zoned and picked off one by one. They just weren't able to play as a group at all.
No, not in the slightest. And like we sort of said, these mistakes, if you see them in the middle of like Ignite qualifiers or in the group stage, you kind of go, that's a shame. But at this level, against a team like Virtus.pro, they take those small mistakes and turn them into mountains. And honestly, the experience of these guys over on Choppity, they're going to be like tilted, frustrated at some of those errors that were exploited, and just how easy that was in the end for Virtus.pro to win out on that map. But look at how many eliminations total that we saw Choppity manage. It's what, like 14?
That's it.
Sparker got more final hits than that on his own, as did Fi.
It's legitimately insane. 14 final hits, 10 for Nevix, 11 for Fincy, and like you say, 15 for the duelist Sparker and Vi. They were just completely out-eliminated. It was all about Virtus.pro just being able to pick people off one at a time without going down themselves. And that could be shown or attributed to a big difference between experience, like you said.
I mean, the scoreboard doesn't necessarily make DRP look that great either. Just 7.6k damage done on the Venom, but 4 and 9. The biggest, like, gulf, I guess, for the team with the KD, other than on the other side when you got Finzi going 36 and 2. But most of that isn't, like, DRP is just getting punished by the typical thing. Like, if you want to try and protect the Venom, the Invisible Woman is going to be on the other side, and they know exactly how to hurt you in the worst ways, because Venom is so powerful, it's meant to be an answer to shut that stuff down.
Legitimately is crazy. Being able to try and get those Venoms, like you say, to shut them down, using Phoenix to try and stun them out. There's so many one-shots as well here. We saw Magneto's and Phoenix's, Psylocke's and Venom's. Difference is, Virtus Pro have been doing it for longer. They've been able to get these one-shots more times. We didn't see as many Meteor M's with Ensong Infernos for those quick blow-ups this game, but it didn't matter because really it was the Psylocke's that not only were going for those combos, but also they were the activators for these fights a lot of the time. They were the ones who would ult first to force defensive ultimates because it's the most expendable ult here. Well, we will see what is expendable and what is essential in the next draft. After this short break, will Virtus Pro get themselves to match point, or will Chumpty bring us into a longer series? Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
Hello.
Greetings.
You cannot hurt me. I was merciful. Crawl back to your domain, Hela.
In this timeline, the machines will rule.
Embrace, the doctor has conjured a portal. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. A disappearing ant. You are under my spell. Pure chaos!
We are done chasing spiders. We have bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up. We are Venom!
The other guy's been doing a lot of talking for me. You remember old Eddie?
Virtus Pro, exactly where they have been multiple times before in a grand finals, multiple maps up. They currently sit 2-0 as we prepare to make our way into Central Park to see if Virtus Pro can continue their casual walk towards victory, or if Chopped can maybe deforest the pros.
It's brutal, but it's true. It has been a brisk walk for Virtus Pro. And one thing I did realize as well, like in this kind of draft that isn't like Ignite, Virtus Pro have never lost. Like, they've dropped a map at most against Team Peps back in the Invitational. So it's not a problem to do with the execution of the heroes that they play or the comps. They know how to do that. The biggest concern for Virtus Pro is how they approach a draft system that isn't present in this tournament. So really, Choppity can gain a lot of just, okay, we get a lot of the broken characters that we want in a draft that we usually wouldn't get. Can we make those characters work a little bit better against a team that is just designed for this kind of setup?
These are the questions that are currently heavy in Virtus Pro and Choppity at nines. As we look at what we've been seeing these picks so far, we've been seeing a lot of Psylocke and Phoenix very heavily. Torch made an appearance in the previous series, has not done so very much this time. We're going to be heading in to Central Park. Yet another time that we will not be having to worry about the other New York map, where we have the possibility of, on Midtown, these big spawn holds that have in the past given Virtus Pro some minor amounts of trouble, in particular from Team Pets.
There were some instances yesterday where Virtus Pro, like, positioned poorly, gave up that first point very quickly by their standards. But some of the fights that they were taking in that second area of the map was stellar. For the draft, it's pretty much the same as it has been so far this series. It is just that Torch first ban pivoted away from Emma Frost to begin with, the Captain America ban, and then the Protect of the Jean Grey. Virtus Pro have been happy to commit to, and it's been working out well so far.
Jean Grey, Venom, big dive potential. We talked about the opportunity of Psylocke one-shot combos. Venom is also a one-shot combo usually with that, but can work very well with Jean as well, because as we've mentioned it multiple times before, but will continue to do so because it's so important. Endsong Inferno removes bonus health, meaning it's insane for setting up burst combos, which is why we keep seeing it with Meteor M. What we will not see in terms of potential wombo combos, Groot will be removed.
It's interesting in the Choppity have taken out the Groot. I mean, they did last time. They protected the Psylocke in the last draft. Everything else is so far looking about the same for Virtus Pro, taking out the Mantis to stop some of those main triple strategist compositions from working to their full power. And yeah, there's the Invisible Woman yet again. Invisible Boundary staggering behind some of the other strategists when it comes to healing per second for the ultimate, but breaking some of the sight lines, being able to throw it in areas where you could just keep contesting a point, and obviously just how well it can synergize with other characters and really hurt divers like Venom. It's really something that Virtus Pro have been putting out a lot this weekend, and I think people need to take note.
Has been, as we once again see the Hulk getting taken away. But yeah, this Invisible Woman Guardian Barrier is a massive boon for Phoenixes, for example. Phoenix likes to ping away from a distance. Having a shield in front of you is something that Phoenix does not have. If you have the shield in front of them, the Phoenix not only will be healing from their own trait once they get those sparks activated onto their opponents, they also get healed from the barrier, and they can choose to disengage without getting crowd controlled. This draft is almost identical to the previous one.
No, it is completely identical. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much a carbon copy over on... It makes sense. It's the same type of game mode, but a map that Virtus Pro actually beat Choppity on yesterday, looking to do the same to end up on match point. See if the new team could do some fighting damage over on Central Park.
Nevix just made an active effort to make sure that they got the jump pack from Rocket on this Magneto before they swapped off of it. Interesting to see on the Magneto here.
Also interested to see that they're on different vanguards. Usually it's Finzi that's on the Magneto, but are they going like, let's swap, let's Freaky Friday this one a little bit? But for everything for Choppity, you've got Beetlux over on the Magneto, Venom for DRP with the Emma Frost still available. Kind of like we saw Choppity wanted to go for that team up with Psylocke over on Dejalia and then ended up moving over towards this comp. They've started on it this time.
This is something apparently they've been doing a little bit. I have some statistics here from earlier in the tournament, and they have been playing Emma quite a bit from Vince's perspective in the earlier stages. So this is something they have been rolling with, as already fantastic zoning potential fight just keeps the pressure on as they try to make their way up to that high ground, but just eat those explosions from the sparks.
It's more just Virtus.pro putting their foot down, stopping this choke from being pushed into DRP, forced to use that resilience yet again. It is taking a lot of damage, and whilst a lot of the healing resources went in to keep DRP alive, and he might not be long for this world afterwards, Beetle takes the full brunt of this. That target prioritization, the shift from scaring away DRP to instantly switched on to Beetle, is terrifying. One other side of it as well with Nevix and Finzi swapping over on Vanguards, maybe it's the case that Finzi is more likely to stay on the Ember Frost, whereas Nevix could change over to different Vanguards and they're going to be flexible. Finzi, because of that Psylocke team up, wants to be more of an anchor. He's not looking to change what Vanguard he's playing.
Love the logic. They make their way in. Tries to come and tries to track that Psylocke, but unable to do so. Silent Seduction comes on out. Not able to find much here, especially as we will see the fate of both worlds. Some Inferno, Meteor M. See you later. Gonna be picking them right off with the Dance of Butterfly to chase them all the way back to spawn. And that's a lot of ultimates used by Virtus.pro, but you can't argue with results.
Not when it comes to Choppity. Maybe it was an element of like Virtus.pro having all of their ultimates that they suspected that Choppity had the same, and the brute force is only going to allow Choppity to bully their way onto the point and make some progression. Virtus.pro happy to throw a good portion of ultimates prematurely to just make sure that it buys a little bit more time before Choppity are able to fight on this objective. It feels like an inevitability that some progression is going to be made at this rate, but already the majority of time is gone.
Trying to get the lockdown. Vertigo saw that Psylocke was sneaking in. The Spark was able to get out of the hiccup the end from Inferno for the setup. Media M for the follow, but they tag on through, but not enough. Finzi will fall. Bash Invisible Boundary keeps Beetle fighting in this. Cyber has their own. Will they commit to it? Yes, they will. This allows Finzi to portal back in. Now they have the rotation to keep the opportunity, but already 2/3, 2.5 thirds, almost through the first point as Tuzi is wrapping around, looking for isolated members, but the portal will be there to try and get Sparker back onto the point. But Tuzi's on fire, finding all the split members. That's a 3, looking for a 4. Finzi falls. Drindro is zoned, and Choppity have the courtyard.
Yeah, great fight in the end from Choppity. Cleanup is needed, really. And it was just off the back of some good engagements. It feels like Virtus.pro feel like they can't full hold that first point, and maybe that's why they took some of the fights, and maybe why we saw that engagement with so many ultimates is just, again, to force as much time out as possible, eventually going for this reset. It is quick to try and go in and fight on the bridge, get in stock of where exactly all of these players from Choppity are positioned, but their key interest is going to be where is Tuzi, where is Crazy Kitty, and is it likely that those big slam ultimates are going to be in play just yet?
Not a big question. Fate of Worlds is also to be utilized just in case of these slam ultimates. Here comes 5 with the end of Inferno, Media M for the one-shot combo. They're not going to find him, and Sparker does not care, picking up some pickups
just before
on the backline just in time. But now dropped incredibly low. They need some of that strategy of healing. Invisible Boundary, that'll do perfectly. Trapped in the building, body blocked by Emma, and it's another 2 pickups for Virtus.pro.
A nice engagement for Virtus.pro. And Choppity, it's a tricky engagement to go for, and you lose, was it Beetle, was it Maj, just before that Fate of Both Worlds comes out. And that started from a fight where Sparker goes in with the Dance of the Butterflies on his own. Maybe that's part of the plan, that he just goes in, dives, and suddenly Choppity have to turn around, and the rest of Virtus.pro are given some leeway to make a play happen elsewhere. But now the Psionic Seduction, it feels like Choppity are unable to really set up in a nice position here. So these players are dropping like flies, trying to reset as quick as they can, because 90 seconds is all that is left. And I don't think this objective has moved nearly as far as it needs to.
Currently sitting at 67 meters, 53 centimeters. The Sparker has been flanking onto anyone who thinks they can get away with it. Tuzi is so deep in the backline, he's in the castle, ready to try and snipe out, denying sight, denying audio, so that he can try and sneak in behind. We're not at slow walking patch yet. Now the butterfly into the backline from Tuzi, but finding nothing. Fate of Both Worlds has to come out. Endsong Inferno and Media M to Choppany's chance to go for a one-shot. They find nothing, but finally Tuzi will be the gonna want to make something happen if they get another final hit.
Invisible boundaries allowing Chocolatey at least a place to maybe make their final stand. But I think the Virtus Pro just disengaging as much as they can. Not completely out. They've not gone back to spawn. Instead, they're just trying to hook around this main building, pull back everybody from Chocolatey out of distance. The Ensog's going to try and fly down. And there is that follow-up there. It was a little bit late in the end, but eventually Vi is able to take out a couple. But the positioning for Virtus Pro, they have to disengage. They give up that space. And even though Chocolatey are able to actually get the point, it pulled a lot of people away from that objective and more space for Vi. So I don't really know how Chocolatey were able to get onto the point right at the end there.
No one was on, it was all moving on its own. No one was interrupting it, so it just walked in because there was nobody contesting it. Vi, as such, burns his ultimate. They get 2 pickups, but the point moves. So all they've really done is stagger Chocolatey and allow them to regroup together instead of trying to get some extra momentum pushing through the doorway. Beta POVS coming out from both sides here to try and make things happen. But the second these expire, we're going to see Dance the Butterfly coming in from 2Z to try and get some counter pickup. And here it is, doing huge work, taking out Saipe, but everyone else is taking through for the moment as Dridro will get chased onto the Snowflake and will go down. No, 2Z gets taken out.
Yeah, Nevic's able to sort of trade out. He's still over on that Magneto as well. Hasn't changed up as we've gone to different verticalities. You might have seen maybe some other Vanguard, but a good portion of them have been banned out this map, to be fair. Sparker diving the backline, catches 2. Is going to be a battle of the Magnetos that in the end Beetle ends up winning. But Sparker capping up to 3 eliminations in quick succession, make it 4. He's putting his name as much on this game as he possibly can, and he's halted for now the payload over onto this corner.
This is Virtus Pro once again, slowing down Chocolatey, burning through this time, which we're already down to 27 seconds. Not much opportunity for Chocolatey to make their way back in, but they do have 4 ultimates to try and make the play, whereas Virtus Pro only have 3. Silent Seduction gonna make it 3 for Chocolatey as well, and so Inferno for Vi, used defensively, but they can still try and combo it with Nevic. Massive hit onto Mash, but he's avoided it.
Survives completely. I don't know if the terrain rebuilding it there made things a little bit harder to line up that shot, but Chocolatey surviving yet another Virtus Pro Ensong Mito M combination. Things being thrown down now for Chocolatey. See if they can make that combo work themselves, but no, in the end, it is still going the other direction. Saipe able to cleave through all of the teammates in front of him with this healing and just keeps things going enough for Dridro to pull out that fate of both worlds. Look at the health on the side of Chocolatey. It's either grayed out as the back in spawn or little to go off. 3 players alive, but they were coming out of spawn. Nobody could touch. It stops just past a second.
The point-blank melee weaves at the end there, just making it so difficult for anyone to take a fight on that objective. No one was able to even get onto Strange in time. You can see 2Z did swap at the end, but it was too little and too late. As now, we will move on to Chocolatey on the defense. They were able to get through 2 points when they were on the attack, meaning that they can hold this. This is 100% doable for Chocolatey to make their way back in, especially with this first point being one that can be full held, especially with portal re-engages. It is a one that is held more often than potentially some of the other maps.
Yeah, it's... I think for Virtus Pro, thinking of their side, so there's a couple of things that keep cropping up. That combo between the Magneto and the Jean Grey. Yeah. Sometimes it's not hitting. It's hard to hit, don't get me wrong. It's really hard to find that coordination, but we've seen such a high success rate from the teams here. You would expect Virtus Pro to not struggle with that side of the game. But also that play where they disengage before the second checkpoint, it's a nice idea where they're pulling back, they're creating space and allowing the Ensong to just slam down onto overextended Chocolatey players. But somebody had to be on the objective to stop it there. That's like a howler mistake, but it's more, this is, guess what the tournament's going to be for Virtus Pro, working out some of the issues and making sure that they're fixed just in time for Ignite Stage 2.
You've got to be asking, what have Virtus Pro been up to while the Ignite mid-season finals have been happening? You would hope that they were in the lab, working through the reasons they didn't make it into these global finals. A lot of that, as you mentioned, may have come down to the Ignite draft system, but they're going to have wanted to hopefully have these ironed out last year, potentially, before Ignite happened. But for now, they are already, they're 2-0 ahead. Let's not mince words about this. Virtus Pro are already finding the first pickup, make it second, pushing on in and looking to claim point number 1. They they are trying to say to the world, we are back making a quad.
I think they're saying that they never left. That the depth was greatly exaggerated of this team, and in these kind of games, they're not ones to make the silly little mistakes that cost them a chance to be at that first international LAN. And I imagine that when you have a good performance from Rad, Team 1, winning the whole thing, you're sat there thinking that should have been us, which is fuel for the fire, and it's one of the reasons why Virtus Pro look so clean with their plays. But honestly, they kind of looked this clean before.
True, they are back in, they're locked in, they're trying to make it happen right now. They've already grabbed point number 1 with over 5 minutes to go. They're making their way to the first corner. You can see a little bit of a wraparound. You've got to be careful, but Psylocke and Phoenix can be very stealthy and move into the back line and cause a lot of pressure. Nevix, though, finds a sneaky swindler, takes out 2Z, and begins to make their way up the ramp. It's all aggression all the time.
The fight is already past that point, I think, where Choppity on their attack kind of got halted. It's the momentum is starting to build, and I mean, what do you do here if you're mashed? There's nowhere for you to go, and you know exactly who's hunting you down. It's just Def, Taxis, and Sparker in the backline. It's inevitable to deal with, and that is so clean to a point where Choppity might struggle again to actually recontest this unless they go towards a Doctor Strange.
There's that finish line. They do realize that this is so rough. They're saving the Strange for the last fight because that's your last chance. You might not be able to get there in time for this one. You have at least a chance of getting there for point number 3. Chance of the butterfly for 2Z. That's personal. That 100% feels personal into the backline. The solo ult through Guardian Barrier, but that will stagger Virtus Pro a bit. This now is the exact situation we saw in the previous series, where Choppity now will have the cart on their side of the map through the doorway, meaning that they can now defend these much narrower choke points against Virtus Pro as they try to push up.
Yeah, just on the face of it, feels like a big dedication for such a small thing, but it's something I think the Choppity had to do. They had to make sure that some of this forward movement from Virtus Pro was stemmed a little bit, and Sparker now has got the Idol Aura to help keep him alive, able to just go dive straight in whilst this damage is being shared out. There just isn't enough strategists alive to keep themselves surviving, and it's just the same as all of the maps with these payloads, moving forward pretty much for free. Choppity, Vertigo is switching over towards the Strange. Portal play has to come in now, and there's still 5 minutes.
What? Nevix! No way! Nevix counter portals, drops Vertigo through, shuts down the reinforcement, and another clean push for Virtus Pro. The counter portal to prevent the reinforcements.
It was probably way too telegraphed there with just how much Choppity had lost in that fight. Whether it's like, okay, we know that they're going for the portal play, I'm going to already preemptively be on the Strange to counter that. I mean, that's just... That is unbelievable, because that's stuff that surely you'd save that you do that for Ignite. That's just you making a name for yourselves a bit and going, yeah, we're definitely back on this one. Match point for Virtus Pro.
Virtus Pro need to save some names for the rest of us at that point. If that's the goal, then they need to save some name, because they have it all right now. 19 final hits for Sparker, which is, well, once again, more than the entirety of the other team put together. Choppity just not able to keep up. Look at these highlights.
It's just also that Sparker, a lot of those final hits was the individual stuff. It wasn't just him getting the final nail in the coffin in some of these picks. It's just him thriving. He's given that space, and it's so hard, I think, for really anybody on Choppity to try to match. Especially when this is a team that's relied a lot on like the triple strategist. You have got this draft where you're not really allowed to go for the Mantis, the Ultron, or anything. You kind of have to match this 2-2-2. And it's so difficult to match Virtus Pro when you're in more of like that neutral composition. It's almost impossible, I would say.
Counter portal is so weird. I'd love to see it from their view, see if it was an underneath portal to drop straight through it, or whether it was an in-front counter portal. Either way, mwah! Chef's kiss, like you say, it's looking, this is Virtus Pro. This is exactly what we've come to expect from them. They look incredible, and they are on match point. We're going to a break. When we come back, we may see Virtus Pro claim their third Marvel Rivals Championship victory, or we will see Chopty take us in to a map number 5. We'll be finding out after this break.
Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the world I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are set now for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way, come find me. Do you remember who you really are? Show me that you are still the only one for me. I'll be waiting for you. Blink and open your eyes, raising up your fist and...
Hello.
Greetings.
You cannot hurt me. I was merciful. Crawl back to your domain, Hela.
In this timeline, the machines will rule.
The doctor has conjured a portal. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. A disappearing act. You are under my spell. Pure chaos!
The potential last map that we might see here at the Marvel Rivals Championship for EMEA at the end in Season 3 would be the Convo map of Araco, something that we actually have seen a little bit of from teams and has been a defining map, I would say, against Virtus Pro in some of those major losses in Ignite. Sorry to keep bringing it up, but it's worth always mentioning because this Virtus Pro team always looks good in these kind of games that you wonder what the hell was going wrong then, right? It's crazy how well they've played today.
If you go through the maps that Virtus Pro probably have like the most memories on of like, oh no, what happened here? It's gonna be Araco, it's gonna be Bird and T'Challa, and it's gonna be Midtown. These are the maps where they're going to have these huge memories of, we could have done that better, we could have played differently, we could have drafted differently. This is one that, however, since they had that one time where someone did extremely well against them on it, they seem to have locked the flip in. Very nearly said a word I'm going to get in trouble on broadcast for when it comes to that, and seem a lot more comfortable since then.
I even think that they were the one like leading the line on the meta. They were quite happy to play it. Granted, I think a lot of the time it was teams picking it against Virtus Pro, mostly to just force out, what do you guys do on this map, so we could essentially copy you. But it always did feel like Virtus Pro, they're just so good on objective focused maps, especially when it's moving, because they know how to take these engagements. And also with all of the small little portals on that first point to get far ahead and really get into the defending team's deep backline, especially when they lose a couple of players. It's just the ends of the earth. Choppity, though, the first part of this draft was looking a little bit similar. Emma Frost is what was actually banned out like the first map. But Punisher is going to be picked up and protected second, a character that has not been in the draft, not played at all during this map.
Hyper defensive style seems to be the style for Choppity. We've seen a lot of teams go for these big first point holds, and Punisher with culling turrets can be a great tool for that. You also have the opportunity for this being a very good Groot map, especially due to the fact that he's actually on it, but being able to set up these walls for these aggressive early holds can be very hard to deal with. Punisher, one of the best characters when it comes to playing into Groot. And with Groot being a threat, we banned the Mantis to at least make it weaker.
Has that been pretty much the same as the the Invisible Woman Protect, certainly the Thing Protect? That's a little bit different because it was what the Jean Grey that Virtus Pro were protecting first, yeah. So they're like, we're not that bothered about it. And I mean, at this rate, like, the Human Torch hasn't been banned out. It feels that because Emma Frost was banned out first instead of the Human Torch, there's no pressure for Virtus Pro to lock in the Jean Grey.
Seems to potentially be the case. I mean, Virtus Pro seem pretty happy with any duelist. They haven't focused much on duelist bans so far because they believe they have the better one. It's the gamble that you take sometimes in these mirror drafts. Are we more scared of any of these duelists? No, we think we can counter the Flyer with the Thing. We think we can counter Phoenix with just playing a good Phoenix. So they're just letting all the duelists go through and just choosing to take them in the mirror fights, as Choppity will once again protect the Venom.
It's been pretty much the go-to for Choppity. I wouldn't say it's been working, but I don't think that's a case of the draft being wrong. I think that's just when Invisible Woman starts climbing up the protect list, you know that something's up there. Interesting that the Psylocke was banned out last. I guess, again, you've got all of these options to have the Human Torch and the Jean Grey together, so just getting rid of the option to pull people away, especially with no Emma Frost, is quite good. But I thought that the Thing might be in play to deal with the Psylocke because, I mean, that was used against Virtus Pro before. But going into this one, this could be the final map. 4-0 for Virtus Pro, potentially up, but Choppity, they need to fight back on Arako.
I hope you enjoyed your rave chat as we are heading on in, and surprise, surprise, on one of these big spawn hold maps, it's 3 Vanguards and 3 Strategists, Ryan.
This comp was, Yggdrasil's path we saw before. I imagine if we saw some Midtown in play for Virtus Pro, it would be there too, especially just in these little bunkered positions on this defense. But Choppity going for the Storm, actually. I mean, the Tornado is going to be really nice, the Omega Hurricane on these positions, but it's going to be harder to take out the Comet Revival if it becomes available. Dreamdra's halfway to having it. Right now, it's just a bit of a brutal brawl. Nobody looks severely in trouble as of yet. It's more just for the ult famine who can get there first.
We mentioned it earlier in the last time we saw this kind of setup. How do you break this? You need Storm for damage boost, Punisher, you need Moondog, you need Squirrel Girl, and those are being given. Sparker plays the Rabbit Raccoon again.
Was that like a 3k in the end that he was able to take? Maybe it's just the Venom skin.
3 for him, 2 for Nemix.
It just makes him more rock and roll. Like, he's able to get his ultimate and just throw out more lethal damage than Tuzi's been able to do on the Punisher. And so now, I guess that's a good thing about the Punisher, right? As well with the turret, if you can get actually onto the payload, that's going to break some of these bunker setups in play. But unfortunately, this invisible boundary that's been slammed down from Saipei, it's not enough to keep people alive, not when the Punisher is in the middle of it with you, locked in with everybody else. But the Comet Revival's bringing people back. The Eye of Agamotto's providing a little bit of space, but the turret is up. It's doing a lot of damage, and I don't think anybody from Virtus Pro has been able to react to it yet.
Gallic turret used for crowd control immunity to prevent that Eye of Agamotto. Instead, it only hits Vi, who's able to tank on through. Sorry, only hits the rest of the backline, basically. Choppity, they're trying to still break through this. They survived the initial engage from Vinci, and they're starting to push back. They've actually got a pretty good zone going on here. The Supernova from Crazy Kitty is really stopping Virtus Pro from stepping back onto the point here.
He's not to the low ground. He's just going to scoot over to the high. Makes me miss Canute. It makes some of the movements that he had and the positions that he was set up. Even on top of the actual payload itself, Beetle does catch out Vinci though, so that main barrier is going to be gone, but he's going to be back in an instant because of the be right back. It's just all of this focus, I suppose, for Choppy. Even if they get lucky by the pick, it seems to just cancel itself out very quickly. Another Young Amplifier is going to be used, but entangled prison, even with an invisible boundary put down again, there's too many ultimates thrown in on the attacking side that Virtus Pro. I don't think Be Right Back or Camera Revival is going to be useful right now. It's a shame because Drejo is 99% on his.
And this is exactly what we want to see from Choppity. They're bringing out the Cloak Dagger for the first time. That Terror Cape plus Punisher. It's the entire Stage 1 Ignite again. Portal with Penny. Here comes Virtus Pro for the last second hold. Clobbering time comes out. 2Z is going to be stunned, but is going to be inside that regeneration domain. Allowed him to take the fight as Crazy Kitty is on the duel on Cypher on the backline. Removes Strategist. He removes the healing. Takes them down with the activation of it as they push on in onto Vi, burning them off the board. The time is ticking down, but it's not gonna matter because there's no one left to hold them. Sparker falls, Karmic Revival comes on out. We're still going, Ryan.
Oh, he's managed to use the right click as well with the smoke screen to just hop up onto the high ground. Now the turret's up. It's forcing Nevix to go in and try and deal with it. Trying to swing in behind. He's very close to breaking it. Able to catch him out, but the Eye of Agamotto has also provided a bit more space for Virtus Pro. He's actually connecting onto 4, I believe, in the end. And the rest of the team is on it, picked apart one at a time. And the pace of these eliminations slowing down because Virtus Pro want to really chalk this out as long as they possibly can.
They're running out of time. Spider-Man 2Z has to swap to it to make sure they have someone to touch and give them overtime. Virtus Pro with 2 revives. A hold. Knockback executed perfectly. 2 Karmic Revivals, a portal with Penny, because you know that last fight is round 2 corners, so you can just rush through, set up, and go for the final hold. Someone in the chat was saying they wanted Virtus Pro to make Penny viable. Well, they just executed a wonderful 0.1 hold.
It was lovely stuff from them, and just the end of it capping off with more force physics that Saipe's been able to do. It's such a small bit of Invisible Woman's kit, but the value that you can get for those clutch moments, and you get it frequently too. It's something that has provided so many great moments for Virtus Pro for very little, I guess, expense, right? And one thing too, as Tridro's looking to go in for the Cloak and Dagger early on, we've seen very little C&D at all in comparison to what we were seeing from Ignite throughout this weekend.
Choppity brought it out last round, but that's because they were running it with the Punisher, and having that Terror Cape vulnerability application is so strong. Virtus Pro are doing it for similar reasons. They know they're just about to have to fight through a multiple Vanguard setup with multiple Strategists, and with Mantis out, there's no damage boost. So how do you deal with it? Storm for damage boost, Terror Cape for vulnerability. It's time to absolutely melt it, and they finally listened to us, Ryan. It's Moon Knight.
I mean, Virtus Pro were doing it before. It's Choppity not doing it that we were like, come on, you got to get on the wave. And because you have the Storm too, the damage boost just allowing a lot more spam, but it's coming right back into Spark, being reverted in from Beetle. So this fight has not gone as well as Virtus Pro were hoping, mostly because Beetle on the group with these walls providing enough of a window that this spam damage from Virtus Pro has found very little.
Will we see what teams often do, which is swapping over to also bring out the Squirrel Girl. Go for a triple duelist setup just to break the hold. Draggling Prison into the backline onto Rocket. And the low-key executed beautifully by Nevix here as they go for that zoning potential, trying to pressure onto the backline. Again, the zoning is good, and Nevix gets revenge. Beetle is still holding. Karmic Revival comes on out. That's a 4-man. And Choppity are going to keep this fight going even longer. But Sparker, that's the hand of onto the respawn.
Oh, it's a weird fight for Choppity because that counter revival provides so much like healing and sustain now in comparison to before. The fact that Beetle sort of just leaped into the fight away from that sort of safe healing area, he gets taken out, and it's that big Kamic revival for Vertigo found a little use in the end because it was a desperate fight for Choppity to keep contesting. At the very least, it's buying more time, but Virtus Pro, more people over on the objective means that it's moving at full speed. Choppity have to reset, and some of their players are very much scattered at the moment. They need to regroup.
Mash on Jeff, get people to the point fast so that someone can be touching while they wait for that portal to come back in. They've swapped off the portal. They decide to save it for the last second push and use the speed from the Jeff instead. Here's the Eternal Bond. Venom from the backline to buy them that extra aggression as Choppity are going full all in on the hold. But a Mega Hurricane into the backline. They strangling them against the wall, keeping them zoned. Beetle is forced through the doorway, taken out with the daggers. And that is going to be Fincy once again cleaning up. Reinforcements are trickling in, but they've got a delay for the portal.
It's all or nothing now for Choppity, and it is just nothing. Virtus Pro, every single time that they've been in a Marvel Rivals Championship, they have been the top dog. It's free for them. And I'd say that they've retained their trophy, their championship over here, because the last time that we saw MRC, it was with the non-Ignite teams to qualify for that position. Virtus Pro, disappointed to not see them at the big event, the big international LAN, making sure that they don't make that same mistake twice. And this is a great statement to make before Ignite starts up again.
A statement of intent. Those global finals sit in the distance, but first, a reclaiming of a crown is needed. Virtus Pro, they've got one of their crowns back already, being allowed back into MRC and taking it in a 4-0 finals. Very familiar to what we've seen in the past from Virtus Pro. Beautifully executed, and now their next charge, their next crown that they wish to take is, of course, Ignite Stage 2 for EMEA. That's Step 2. Step 3 would be those global finals. These are all of the crowns that Virtus Pro will be aiming for on their way to ending out the year as the EMEA champions. That is their goal.
That's the main thing to be going for, but I really want to sort of look back at Arico, especially because I think that it is just the real capstone of what this team is capable of, because not only is it some strong fundamentals, it's the cute new stuff, right? Sparker being able